Good afternoon, everybody. It's Jonathan Poyer here with AlphaWatch. Excited as always to have my friend out in the Omaha of the ocean, Mark Charest. Dr. Charest, how are you doing today? It's good to see you.
I'm doing great, Jonathan. How are you?
I'm doing super good. All right, I wanted to ask you a real simple question. A lot of times when we talk or we hear you talk, we talk about IPOs and M&A and all these deals, putting money on the balance sheet of companies. You also talk about recapitalization or secondary investments. What is that? Educate us, please.
Yeah, so a lot of folks, are familiar with companies that are profitable that are publicly traded, but the largest segment of pre-commercial stage companies that trades on any public exchange is the biopharma sector. And by definition, these companies, they're not generating any revenue. So to fund their program development, they need to spend, equity risk dollars, and that capital is raised through primary share issuances. So the companies selling shares from their treasury to investors, and that capital is going on the balance sheet.
That's super simple. So it's exactly what you think. How big is that market, and who can access that market? Can I just go up and pull it up on Schwab or something, or how does it work?
Yeah, so there's a number of market makers that keep statistics on the aggregate transaction volume, and there was record capital raised for the sector coming out of the pandemic, and it's tapered substantially, as you would imagine, with cost of capital going up. But it's many tens and hundreds of billions of dollars in aggregate deal volume that's happening pretty much every year.
Now, big players? Are they hedge funds? Are they just rich guys? Like who are the people that are investing mostly in that secondary market?
Yeah, the primary buyers are, fund managers. They're managing mutual funds, hedge
Mm.
funds. There's, I'd say those are the primary buyers, and the underwriters of these deals are, the large investment banks that have research coverage of the companies and follow and support them. And it's a very important to provide this capital. It's the lifeblood of funding innovation.
Yeah, your opening salvo kind of shocked me of saying how big it was and how important it was and how much this sector in particular is taking advantage of it. That was kind of fascinating to hear me. And it's something you surely spend a lot of time in, I'm sure. At least I've heard you talk about it all the time. Well, I wonder if that the second thing I wanted to bring up today, and maybe it's in the same vein as like so Biogen just made an announcement or just released some findings, clinical trial research about Alzheimer's. I have family members with Alzheimer's, so it hit home to me. Well, I saw the stock go boom through the moon, and then I saw all these other companies that are also tangentially involved with Alzheimer's research drugs. Their stock went up too. What happened, and why was everybody impacted for the positive because of one company's clinical trials?
Yeah, I think there was a lot of excitement over the what's called lecanemab data. That's the anti-amyloid antibody that Biogen and Eisai reported data on. So the study you mentioned is called the Clarity AD trial, and it was really the first large randomized trial that showed an unambiguous benefit for this type of therapeutic intervention. I think a lot of folks might remember that Biogen and Eisai had an earlier version called aducanumab, and this was approved by FDA, but it's very controversial because that compound had mixed data. So one of the trials showed a pretty robust result, Jonathan. The other one really didn't. And FDA made the controversial decision to approve that drug, although it since has really faltered in the commercial setting because the reimbursement has been very limited. Again, because the evidence wasn't that convincing. So all eyes were on this sort of follow-on second generation compound, lecanemab. It has a little different binding profile than aducanumab, and the data turned out to be in a lot of analyst estimates best case scenario and showing very robust results.
Best case scenario, you don't hear that very often. So, what's that mean to my family member and our family members who are people we know who might have Alzheimer's? What does that really mean?
Yeah, so look, the drug was shown to slow cognitive decline, in a pretty broad trial of patients. Now, it's not a curative therapy. So, again, this is, a very difficult disease. There are, very limited therapeutic options for these patients. So, best case scenario in the context of, what might have been expected for this trial, it doesn't mean that, this is going to be curative for patients. It's really, shown that it can slow cognitive decline. But there are high expectations that this will be more widely reimbursed when it's approved, hopefully sometime next year. And it should, again, compared to what's available now, be the best alternative.
Well, slowing it down means more time with your loved ones before it gets real serious. That's important. So why did all these other companies who are tangentially around this space, why did they go up as well if it was Biogem's product?
Yeah, so the other companies in the space, I can mention a few of them. Eli Lilly has a program. Roche has a program. A small company called Prothena. Morphosis is collaborating with a large company on a similar program. The common theme, Jonathan, is they all are targeting, various ways to, intersect beta amyloid, right? So,
Mm.
this has been a longstanding hypothesis in the field could you have a positive impact on the clinical symptoms of Alzheimer's disease by, sequestering or removing beta amyloid plaques and leading to that reduction. And that was sort of validated by the lecanemab data. And because all these other companies I mentioned have programs that are thematically similar, they're operating on a very similar mechanism. There's higher expectations that they too can show a successful outcome in their later stage trials when they read out.
So it's great news for everybody, not just a single company, which is what we want to hear. That's good. Well, hey, we always like to end these with the wind up. I'd like you to wind up for me here, like secondary market and then the Alzheimer's drug. Let's just do a double wind up here. The floor, we're going to higher building, as we like to joke about on the elevator here. Wind us up on those two. What do we need to know again? What's our big takeaway for the recapitalization market? And then Alzheimer's drugs. What do we need to know?
Yeah, absolutely. So with cost of capital going up, there are really some great opportunities for investors who can participate in follow-on financings or recapitalizations of the biotech companies that are pre-commercial stage. The exceptional opportunities right now. Investors are really getting attractive pricing and are really able to, I say, capture alpha through participation in these follow-on offerings. And there's a lot of funds that do them. There's a lot of funds that don't. So I would say look carefully into the funds you're investing in to see if they can participate or not. And then on Alzheimer's, I think the punchline here is certainly landmark study, positive for the sector. There was over $60 billion in market cap created on the data, not just from Biogen's market cap appreciation, but all the other companies I mentioned. I think this is a good example of what we could expect in some other areas where there's also exciting innovation. And I think it shows, doesn't matter what the Fed funds rate is, if you have a successful drug, it can create value.
Man, $60 billion of market cap in one day. Man, that's nuts, crazy. Well, you're the man. Thanks, Dr. Charest, for always being available to help us. Again, this is Jonathan with AlphaWatch. Come and join us. Join the alphawatch.blog. You can see other good commentary from Mark and others. And have an awesome day. Enjoy the sunshine. We'll talk to you guys soon. Thanks, Mark.
Thanks, Jonathan. Good to see you.